All right. Morning, Paul. How's it going? Oh, I'm bottom there, aren't I? Go. All right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. We're picking up pretty much where we left off last night, working on some sprite sheets for the flip clock. But I'll take a step back and just introduce myself in case anybody new is watching. My name is Tim, and I go by FoamyGuy on GitHub and Discord. We are working on CircuitPython related projects. In particular, we're working on a display I/O flip clock widget that allows you to draw flipping numbers onto the screen of a microcontroller. You don't know what that means, you can learn more at circuitpython.org, but a good high-level version is basically we're writing Python code that runs on these tiny computers called microcontrollers. Our Python code gets saved onto these devices as a text file, just shows up like a thumb drive on the computer. Save the Python code on there, and then it will execute, and it can interact with stuff that's plugged in. So these little microcontrollers come in various different shapes and sizes, and the ones that I am messing with in particular, well, the thing I made this project for initially was the ESP32 Feather S2, this device here, which has a built-in display. But some of the work that we're going to do today will hopefully make this work on some other devices as well. Afternoon, Axel. I don't quite follow, so I don't know. Are there races or anything going on today? You got any races this week to watch? I believe that's you that was telling me a couple weeks about the races on. One thing I did not do was set up the camera, so let me do that. Okay. One. How's it going, DJ Devin? Sure. I'm out of here. Good for now. No F1 today? Oh. Alright. Yes, so we are working on this flip clock. This one, luckily enough, we hit it right on the minute there, so we got to see it go. It's made by a series of sprites inside a sprite sheet. It basically just animates through them one at a time, and then each of those sprites is a different angle than those flip actions, and that's what's creating the effect here. Specifically, what I'm working on today is the script that generates the sprite sheets. So there's sprite sheets like this and like this, which are used for the flipping animation. There's also this one, which is used for just the static numbers when there's no flipping happening. And even actually, I guess, used in the back when there is flipping happening. Got the step sequencer board kind of working. Some of the lights aren't working, just happy it didn't smoke a chip on the first start. Nice. Yeah, that's definitely... this is the one you ordered, right? The one that you designed the PCB for that? The one I'm thinking of? It's definitely a nice thing, though. I've not designed any myself, but my wife has designed a few, and that first power-up is nerve-wracking to say the least, and certainly lots of fun if it does work out. Sure. So really, one thing we need to do is test out, like last night we made this into a typer CLI, command line interface application, but I only ran it normally. I didn't really start testing out the arguments. Although I did try one this morning a little bit ago. I tried to set the padding. It doesn't crash or anything, but nothing actually did change, which does kind of make sense because actually right now all the code is using this constant variable, essentially padding size, and we're not changing that with our argument. So the code's basically ignoring our argument right now. So we need to basically make these take all of these other things, truthfully. Padding is the one that I happen to try first, but we're going to want all of this stuff. We are going to want height to be height and not width, though. That will most assuredly break something. We want, yeah, I mean, we need all the colors. Maybe I should have added these one at a time. So the static sheet does not need the number of animation frames, but the animation sheet will. Take most of this, but we can add on animation frames. This we can here, and then we can go and actually add all of these. Actually, we should take them from here. Take them from here. Here. We're gonna have a lot of more arguments, aren't we? Hopefully we typed them down there. Font we already have, it's probably mad about that. Actually, font size we already have as well. And we should do this, though. No, we don't have his height and width. I know we have to like go through here, and whenever this is used, use this. Whenever this is used, use this. Whenever this is used, use this. I just have to like fix all these ones that are pointed to the constant ones. The constant ones are still defaults, so like that's what's gonna get used if you don't pass anything, but probably do one at a time maybe. Let's do all the widths. No more. I think something said this was deprecated. Shouldn't change. We should, let's not change too much at once though, actually. Let's just through the arguments. Not using text color. Not using transparent color. I guess make sprite should probably be taking the text color and the background color. So we got a lot of replacing. Find replace. Nice. Yeah, we are gonna fix deprecations also with PIL. But I need to pass through the arguments first. Well, it doesn't really need to happen first, but I'm gonna do it first. Because this way we'll be able to run it from the command line and get different sizes and stuff. Sizes, different paddings, different fonts. Tile color. Oh. Interest. Okay, I had that twisted in my mind. I was thinking that the gray, which is what this is, was background color. Then transparency was... Hmm. Doesn't get used anyway. Okay, I think that tile color, well, maybe we just shouldn't have background color. Background is ambiguous. Because there's a background, the green is the background to everything, the sprite sheet, but the gray, the background to the text. So background's kind of ambiguous. We shouldn't use it. Tile color will be the gray. Transparency color will be the green. So happy today. This is a hardware test CodePy, and it's not passing test. Hopefully just minor soldering issues. Got 5 prototypes. You'll ship me one if I want. Could be a great streamer as a macro pad. I mean, that's totally up to you. I would certainly happily play with it and play with it on stream and such, but that is totally a decision for you. Definitely wish you the best of luck. It looks cool as heck. Let me I do have a macro pad here on my desk. And then I actually have this old it's called a Nostromo N52, different kind of macro pad. Product macro pad made by Logitech or somebody. Or I think they got absorbed by Logitech. I might be misremembering the right name too. Nice. I like these blue knobs you have on here. Are those like MCP 20 what something something MCP something expanders? With glowy bits. Which vibe is strong. Anodized knobs, nice. MCP 23017, nice. I2C expanders. Probably have, you can change their addresses or something as well, that way you can do more than one. Or maybe they just have chaining built in, I guess. Some of them are like that, I think. We're going to get rid of this. We're just going to use tile color anytime we would have used background color. Fortunately, I think some of that's down here, which we just did. "11 files." I guess we'll see it if stuff changed. It didn't. Oops. Oops. This here. This. Change this one to tile color. Setting. Font color. Text color. One is not using the transparency color. I guess because it's only making the foreground. So it'll get pasted onto transparency later. So in that case, we don't really need the transparency color inside here. Static sheet, we should be using the transparency color in here. This should be the transparency. Background of the static sheet. Yeah. Got tile color there. We make that as green, then we make each of those foreground sprites inside here, paste them into the full sheet on top of the green. Expected argument. Weirdest way through this code. It would have been faster actually. Go from 1 to 1. String, font size, font, heading, width, height, text color, tile color. Make animation sheets transparent color and doesn't use the animation frames. Uh, image. This should be getting the transparency color. How's it going, Paul? The weekly grocery shopping taken care of? Nice. Thanks for tuning in, hanging out. Rush Park Purple has such a great work in progress. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that is awesome. Thanks for offering that, DJ Devin. Really nice of you. Let us know, keep us in the loop how it's working out as you get it tested more. Transparency, so we'll use this inside of here. Height and width. Oh yeah, we got, width. Pack images to sheet width. Number of sprites in each row. It actually needs tile width also. Yeah, it needs tile width also because it's putting them next to each other. Doesn't need height. It should probably need height. I guess it doesn't need height because it. Could it be getting image.width? It might be worth a test. See if it could use image.width. I do want to like run it without making that change first because I've already changed a lot of things. Not entirely sure if this is going to be working, and I don't want to be harder than it already is to troubleshoot if it's not. But maybe we could get by with using image.width here instead of passing in tile width. I'm not using transparency color. Oh, okay, so now we should be passing it to pack. Bottom sheet. So we should probably not be hard coding these, right? Yeah, animation frames. But this should be this, this. Okay, now we're using transparencies. Missing parameter, transparent color. Yeah, we're missing a lot of them, don't worry. Have those somewhere? See if it works. Go without padding first. See if the ones we get. Oh. Wide? that changed anything or not. Definitely too wide though. DA and JL PCB. So happened. File width, file height. Height. Color. Okay. I guess what should we the inner image be full size? Like this. I wish I could like just create a copy of this file and go back to the state it was when I started today. Copy it. Copy it from GitHub. Alright, we run the old version, we compare the inner images. Figure out why that happened. So inner image, when we saved it from there, it did actually have the green in it, so we do probably need the transparency. So probably we messed up using the transparency color? Background color. Background color. These were supposed to be transparency? Image and inner image? For just a minute to see if that's right. Except for I can't? Really? Okay. The inner image you would think be tile color. Alright. We're both supposed to be transparency, so we do need transparency in here. Okay. Try double the padding. Maybe make a way where you can modify the file name. Of course, want probably smaller font size. We'd want to take the width down probably. There's lots of stuff we would want to also change, but it does appear the padding is working it. So where are we at on pre? I checked in. I mean, too many arguments, too many locals. are going to happen in this file, I think, because we have all of the variables we have. Pretty much need to have or want to have all of them. Yeah, that's true. Image of the set. Let's see. Again, the image of set of sprites. In the case of the parts that are colored green, could the presenting of that green part's not been done via algorithm instead of loading that part into the sprites into RAM? Okay, so the green part, the short answer is no. The short answer is, well, the very, very short answer is no. The longer, the medium answer is like it probably could be, but we would need a lot more capabilities in display IO because we would need to be able to calculate the perspective skew inside display IO in order to not need that space. The reason why we need that space, here, let's put it back to padding 8. That'll make it look a little more sane, and then it'll be easier to explain, I think. The reason why we need, well, I mean, some of the green space we could maybe get away with losing. Like, theoretically here, we don't really need this space. The main reason why we have this space is because tile grid, all the tiles have to be the same size. So we have to have enough vertical room for this one, which means we have to make that much vertical room for these ones. So the vertical space we're not really using for the visual trick, but we have to have it because tile grid wants even sized tiles. The extra horizontal space, though, the space here, on the side of this, on the side of this, on the side of all of these, this space we need because these perspective ones, these actually poke out into that extra space. So like on the first one here, it's a certain amount wide, but these ones are actually wider. The part that's angled there, it actually pokes outside the original bounds of this gray box here. And we want it to be wider because those looking wider is part of what makes the visual effect of the perspective skew where it feels like it's going towards you. And so essentially, yeah, we need the extra space because the wider ones, we want them to be wider than the original ones to get that trick of perspective. And then it's kind of then ties back to tile grid again, needing even sized tiles. So since we need to use the extra width on these ones over here, we have to make room for that extra width on these ones here. And then we do just tell display IO to make the green color transparent. We could I think it would make the code a lot more complicated, but it would probably save file size, would be splitting all of these up into individual bitmaps. If these were all individual bitmaps, then they could be only as tall and wide as needed for that particular frame. It would still need a little bit of green, especially on these. Like, it would need the green underneath here because the bitmap still is a rectangle. So there's like a right triangle in there that would still need the green. But the sides and the top and bottom, the sides of this one wouldn't need very much, and the top above these wouldn't need very much if all those were different bitmaps. But then the code would be more convoluted, I think, because it'd have to load all 100 of those different bitmap files. Um, I don't know if there's any extra overhead associated with having it be in a separate file either. I don't know if it's like, does that turn out to be the same amount of RAM as the 10 by 10 inside the single sheet? I'm not actually sure if it's more or less. I mean, it shouldn't be less, but I don't know if it would be more doing them individually or not. Yep, that's true. Yeah, transparency, the way we have it, it's not so much. I mean, the way I think about it is what we have today for transparency is not the same as what you have in like Photoshop for transparency. What we have for transparency is we can choose not to draw that pixel, right? So if we choose not to draw that pixel, then we see whatever would be behind it, if there's something behind it. Nothing behind it, then it would just be the default color, probably black for most screens. Um, So like, yeah, we're basically just telling it like whenever you see a pixel of this color, just don't bother drawing it. And that's the way that our transparency works. How's it going, Johnny? So if we did want to make some sheets that would work for the Pi portal, we would want them to be smaller. Twelve is a bit too much on that. These aren't quite centered either. Less apparent when the padding isn't too big. -1. I mean, it could be another +1, maybe even. Still feels like we could go over by right by 1. That feels much closer to center. Why would it be -1 here, +1 here? That doesn't make sense, right? All right. Let's find some of these prints. Current implementation is like GIF. There's no real transparency, just color tricks, which means no anti-aliasing. With real transparency, you get anti-aliasing automatically. Yeah. Started a new hobby growing herbs in the window. Any ideas about a sensor to measure nutrition levels in the soil? Uh, I I don't know of anything about the nutrition levels. I know there's the one that measures, I think, moisture. I don't know that it does anything more than moisture, this one. Um, Maybe something like a pH sensor? I don't actually know I don't know which nutrients would be most important to measure. Interesting idea, though. I wouldn't call it a hobby quite yet, but something I tried recently, which I'm interested in trying again and maybe getting more into, is fermenting peppers. I made a pepper mash. I have it fermenting in some jars. I'm going to turn it into salsa. Eat it with chips. I think it's going to be yummy. We shall see, though. There's actually a brand new soil sensor in the store. Just showed up this week. Might be worth looking into. Seems functionally identical to the soil sensor. Take your pick. Oh, nutrition levels, highly specific. Yeah. There's some sensors out there for pH levels. I don't think Adafruit carries one. I saw one on Pomerone. Nutrient levels in soil would be hard without specific sensors to affect specific compounds. By GrowCube on Kickstarter, as well as the self-watering. Self-watering, especially like the feedback loop of the moisture sensor water pump is pretty cool. Being able to have it water itself when it's dry. I actually want to use a new one. Soil conduct. Make a tuned soil sensor with specific profiles. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like different plants would require different nutrients, which means you need maybe different sensors. Same nutrition. At food stations, water like sulfur in iron and nitrogen. Red. Oil sensor. Kind of cool. Got radio collect it without wires and stuff. Maybe, I mean, maybe even LE? Send it to just your phone? So, okay, one thing is we now have a bunch more doc strings that are missing because we've added a boatload of arguments to all these. We need to take care of that. We need to try to figure out the deprecations. And then I'd like to try to generate a smaller set of sprites for use on the PyPortal. Deprecation warning, web is deprecated, will be removed. Use palette.web instead. So basically anywhere we have image.web, probably supposed to have palette.web. Hopefully they work the same. We'll need to import that one from PIL. iCubic is deprecated and will be removed. Use resampling. Image.bycubic, we want resampling.bycubic. Perspective. Transform.perspective. Text size is deprecated. Text bbox or text length instead. Text length, same thing. Text length sounds like the number of characters. Text length to measure the offset of following text with 1/64th pixel precision. Text bbox to get the exact bounding box based on an anchor. What's the length in pixels? Okay, that's all I care about really. It only returns 1. Oh, but we need the height, so I have to use bbox. This also wants an anchor? Ugh. Gotta be so much harder now. Anchor is the same place as where the text is at. say what it returns. Like it returns. Alright, here's what we do. How's it going, Dexter? I don't know, you're alright. Alright, you guys can chat about whatever you like. So I guess this is probably like a four tuple, I guess, right? Like has 4 values. Bounding box, but would it? I mean, it's just going to be 0, 0 as the first 2, or 0, 1? 0, 1? Where, why, how would we ever get 0, 1 if we are just giving it 0, 0? Just me, or does that not make any sense? Alright, well, luckily, indexes 2 and 3 over here, our pals, those appear to be the values we want. So let's pretend like we never saw those weird ones over there, and just go that. Unfertilization? Yeah, maybe like on football fields and stuff. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of grass to take care of, or golf courses. Maybe they have this kind of technology. It almost like needs to be a chemical test that can then be have the results converted to something digital. I'm sure there's a chemical test for it, right? Surely we have dip the paper in it, or put the liquid on it and it turns this color, or it does something reactive with how much of such and such nitrogen or whatever is in there. We need to like convert that digital. You know what else I've noticed is that frame 1 of the bottom half non-existent with count 10. I think if the count was not 10, it's possible that it maybe it wouldn't be non-existent, but I don't actually. Why, yes, I did. Wait. There is no way I used hyphen for that. Does this convert to hyphens? Main. Alright. Grudgingly. Ooh. We have 10 hard-coded somewhere. Else. Somewhere else. Somewhere other than here. Right here. Right here, actually, too. Good flap advancing sound clip. Yeah, good idea. Play sounds with it, too. I wouldn't know where to get one. I'm sure you could find a recording of one on YouTube of an actual flip clock, but there we go. Do we actually have 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, yeah. First one is still blank, though, so. I think we have an off by 1 error. I think we have an off by 1 error when we generate the angles for the bottom half. But I also don't know that it's worth fixing because it's going to be this. Like, if we get it to render properly, basically going to be this. Which I don't think really adds anything at that point. One thing we never did do is put the crossbar. Lots of flip clocks, yeah, like this one, they have a crossbar middle. We'll make a Boolean switch for that. Oh, wait, no. 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 We don't, this was wrong. This should always be 10. There we go. Okay, that's better. Okay, so let's try this. Um, yeah. Pretty sure we have to delete these in order to make room for the other ones. I'm gonna run it on this one first and just see what it looks like, and then I'll try putting this on a PyPortal. Need to delete them here, but I actually also need to hiding these again. I turned this on like need to delete this actually too. My computer keeps that as like recycle bin. Just really a recycle bin, right? More like a trash pile before the trash can. I did test a five frame animation at one point when I was first working on this, but I think I only had like a single digit. Not since I've had the whole rest of it working, I haven't done it. I'll index out of bounds. Maybe we should get the digit first, actually. Oh, shoot, we changed this in the wrong place. That explains. Same problem. But it definitely looks messed up. Doesn't look right, and then it crashes. Not ideal. Not be hard coded to 10. Elmo had European League of Legends finals there, I think. Hadn't heard of it before. Like a cool place though. Yeah, yeah, I don't think there is a speaker on there. We'd have to plug it in separate. I mean, it has all the pins though, so well, it'd be optional. I kind of like Grandfather. I wouldn't say necessarily the ticks, but I actually do like the chimes on the hour. Except for like 10 to 12. Those ones go on a little too long. I'd like, if I were making a grandfather clock, I would like up the tempo for the ones that would have a lot, because the grandfather clocks, they like dong for each hour. I would up the tempo. But I do like it, because you can passively, because it passively tells you the time. You don't have to think about it. Well, I mean, you have to think about it, but you don't have to like look at it, or you don't have to think that you want to know the time. You just get told the time without asking for it, which is I kind of like. It lets you keep track of it without worrying about it, kind of. 86, 28. Probably that should be the same. And actually here as well. I want to put that between. Okay, one thing we don't have enabled right now, I don't think, is the palette fading. I do think actually like really helps the effect a lot. Dynamic fading. Honestly, it should be before these. Like we didn't have it, then we wouldn't need these. Doesn't look like the top half is working right, does it? Nice. Awesome. All the knobs and switches and stuff. Don't quite have as much tactile stuff like that these days. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's what I was saying. The top half, it seems like it's just cutting. So if we're changing from 0 to 1, new value is 1, old value is 0. 1 times animation frame count, which is 5. We're going to set that top animation tile grid to 5, which should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Show it. Set the new value of the static tile grid, but this is below, because now this is in front of it. Well, no, old value. This should be old value. Should be old value, because we want the top animation to start on the number that you're currently on. So it's gonna cut to showing the first frame of the top animation, but the first frame of the top animation actually looks pretty much exactly like static frame. So that's gonna splash on top, covering up the static. And then we would want to be transitioning out. We would want to be doing the flip down of that old number. So the 0 in our example, 0 flips down to reveal 1, which is the new value. How was this working before? Or was it not, though? I feel like it didn't have that problem before. Hmm. So in our case, and we passed in old value here. So when we got to here, value is old value, which is 0. We loop over animation frame count, set the sprite to I in our loop, 0 the first time, plus old value 0 times animation frame count. So first time through the loop, we actually set it to what it was probably already on from before. Next time through the loop, though, we go 1 plus old value 0 times animation frame count. So we go 1. Yeah, really think that should be old value. Although it also seems like it's not even running the animation. So on the top half, not sure if this is the only thing that's wrong. New value. Possessive had an apostrophe. Possesses doesn't have an apostrophe. Thought possession was one of the reasons to use it. Shouldn't have done that here. When we're changing from 0 to 1, 0 is correct. Hmm. One actually in front for some reason? Hmm. So the static one is in front somehow. Does this ever work though? I'm so confused. Oh. Static, bottom static, animations here. Is false. Crashed. Blue. I idea. I think I know what happened. Too many pixels are transparent. Too many colors are transparent, or maybe not even too many, but the wrong colors are transparent. Regardless of how many of them there are, wrong ones are transparent. I need to figure out how to manipulate the palette from PIL. So we were coincidentally making like the gray, for instance, transparent. We don't want, obviously, see the gray. Okay, try that. I didn't watch it. Looks a lot better. A lot better. It's as a contraction of it is. Neither will its. But it is does make sense. I guess that's why I confused it. I guess in my mind, it is does make sense in place of where it was at. Or does it? No, it doesn't. Okay. Fair enough. It does not. No. It is new value. No. It's new value. I guess I thought it was both of those. I thought it was like possessive and it is, but I guess not. I've never claimed to write English very well. I don't write English very well, or legible either, for that matter. Okay, now it's looking a lot better. And honestly, this does look pretty good for only 5 animation frames. I don't feel it's that much worse than the 10 one, truthfully. Maybe let's look at it straight on. Well, I'll look at it straight on, obviously. You guys not necessarily, but... Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the 5 looks pretty darn good. Curious what the delay? On a 0.02 delay, what if we went a little bit slower? Looks pretty good still. In the case of possession, from a guy who's working on a feather, it's got a ram on the board. Possessive. Oh. There are some, okay, there are some cases where possession does use an apostrophe and some cases where it doesn't. I see. It is his, it's his, is both possessive and it is. Or it's mine, let's say. It is mine, it's mine. Hmm. Yeah, English is like that. I'm gonna grab some ice for my water real fast. It's kind of gotten a little warm on me, so I'll be right back. Okay. I guess the question is, would this version fit on PyPortal? Oh, but not getting used anymore because they don't have the full library name. That didn't cause this to be food. Weird to me. Oh, okay. There. Why don't I see the chat window in my YouTube window? MS Windows 11, I see the chat window for Tim's stream. If you mean the YouTube chat specifically, like the one that exists on the YouTube page, it's because I disable it on my streams on Saturdays. And the reason I disable it is because, in my opinion, it's not moderated well enough. I tried using it a few times on Saturday streams, and we had blatant, unwanted spam that I did not like and did not want to deal with, and the tools to deal with it were inconvenient and frustrated me. So I turned them off on my own streams. I leave the YouTube chat on for the Adafruit streams, and knock on wood, so far we don't get that much in the way of that kind of spam. We have had it a few times. We don't get it that much, but like every time I've tried to turn it on for Saturday, the YouTube chat, we just get unwanted spam that is blatant, obvious spam that YouTube should not have allowed through. So I got tired of using it because it made me frustrated that it was letting this incredibly blatant scammy stuff come through. And because I was showing it on the screen automatically, like after I hide it, it still shows the person's name, and they put unwanted stuff in their name as well. So it stays on my stream because they put it in the YouTube chat. Even after I delete it, their name stays there. So like, I don't really like YouTube chat. We could maybe try it again one of these days. I'd be willing to give it another try. But I will have, frankly, I will have a very short window of trial. Like the first time that that happens again, if and when we try it, I pretty much will just turn it back off because I do not want to deal with it. Yeah, Twitch chat is a lot easier to use. I don't, and the other thing about the Twitch chat is I don't show it on the stream either. And Discord moderation is pretty good as well. And I have moderator on the Discord, so like if somebody were to post something in the Discord that's right here, I can delete it and it will not be on my stream for more than a second or two, right? The YouTube one was just keeping it, the name. It would let me delete the message, but the name would stay, and they would put part of their message in the name. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one below me there is YouTube. On Friday streams for deep dive, I put the YouTube chat. It's visible down here as well. But on Saturday streams, I usually just do the Discord. One of these days, maybe we'll trial the Twitch chat as well. I don't tend to get as much interaction in the Twitch chat. I try to keep an eye on it as well. But maybe one of these days we'll throw that one on there as well if folks want to ask questions or interact that way. So yeah, maybe we'll try YouTube again one of these days. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they will have gotten better moderation tools or better ability to filter out really blatantly obvious spam. And if so, then keep rolling with it. All right, we're gonna go Titano because that's the one I happened to grab first. Yeah, yeah. You pretty much hit all the nails on the head with the YouTube chat. That's the kind of stuff we were getting. I just didn't. I felt frustrated because I couldn't delete it quickly or easily, and it was on my stream. Oh, that's text. Got an extra X in there. That's all right. All right, let's see. This one's running tones. I don't know if they're probably not coming through the microphone, but running telephone tones, RTTL. I don't know if we'll have room for these. Could have storage. I guess the storage, there's a couple megs of storage. Block, okay. Fair. Yeah. Well, I really I think it's important the distinction is that the moderator tools don't work well on YouTube. Because I have the ability, like I am a moderator on the YouTube chat as well. I have the same tools on YouTube as I do Discord or Twitch or anywhere else. It's that the ones on YouTube, in my opinion, don't work well enough. They don't hide all of the stuff that you want to be hidden when you delete it. So it's not that I have access to one or the other, or that I can get access to a moderator on Discord. It's that the YouTube moderation tools are lacking. Well, I mean, honestly, not only the moderation tools are lacking, but they should have a better filter. Frankly, it should be the kind of stuff that I was seeing was. It would be easy for a bot to know that it was spam. The fact that it wasn't filtered out really surprised me. truthfully. Seems very low quality, I guess, basically, for how big YouTube is. So we do not have enough RAM to run this version. And so we could try a few things at this point. We could either cut more frames out of the animation, right? We could try cutting it down to 4 frames or 3 frames and see what it looks like. My guess is that it will be getting less good each additional frame we're cutting out at this point. Like, we were down to 5, and 5 was looking pretty nice. But I suspect if we get down to 3 or 4, like, it's gonna be really chunking along, right? Like, the 5 still kind of gives it a smooth look. I think we're really gonna start to lose that quick, going lower than 5. Maybe 4 we could get away with. So we could either cut the animation frames down, or we could change the size of the flip digits themselves. If each digit was smaller, then the whole thing would be smaller. We'd have more ability to fit it into RAM. So unfortunately though, we failed on the first one of these. Failed at line 48, which was initializing the top animation sheet. That's rough, because we still have the entire bottom one to go afterwards. Like that? I don't remember. No, I think it's underscore, right? Isn't it underscore? So we have enough technically, but probably it's that we don't have a contiguous block. And the problem is, even if we got this loaded, we're about to load another one that's the same size, and we're clearly not going to have enough after that. We honestly, we need it quite a bit smaller. Quite a bit smaller. We would need it like half the size again still, right? Pretty much, because we have just about enough. We technically have enough, just not a big enough contiguous region to load the first one. But we're going to need to fit not only the first one in a contiguous region, we're going to need to fit an entire second one. Let us get to the second. 53, 51, 53. No, 51. Yeah, we're still on top animation. Or anything. How much RAM does the PyPortal have? If not inconvenient for you in this moment, could you do a commit? Yes, I can. I think this will still not work on the Titano, but I can commit it. We'll put the updated sprite sheets that have the indexes correct. Gonna put those out here instead. Oh, trying to. Yeah. There. Can I go through the commit process I just did? Probably. You have two instances of PyCharm open for that, a Git instance in the background and a different working folder. So I do have two instances. I have three instances of PyCharm open. Device workspace. This one is only touching my device though. Well, different devices. I switched to the PyPortal. This was the same one that was touching the Feather. This one doesn't have anything Git inside of it intentionally. There's probably something in here that is a Git repo, but it's not. I'm not committing from here ever. All of my commits are always coming from the library repo. And then as far as the process, I'm not sure exactly what I did. Coding on the device. I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm trying to code in the repo and then copy it to the device. That's what I'm intending to do. But I did do some live coding on the device, like when I was adding return statements and trying to figure out why the top half was broken. When I was doing that, I was editing code directly on the device rather than inside the repo, just out of convenience to make it quicker. But in terms of like library changes, my intention is to make them in the repo, then copy those to my device, and then later on, whenever I'm ready to push, I would push from my repo, not the device. Leave it. Well, I'm pushing it right now. And then Control K, if you're talking about process as far as like the keys I use, the hotkeys and the menus and stuff, Control K does commit, which gets you this window, which lets you get a look at all of the things that have changed. It's actually, well, this was all of those deprecations, well, right? Oh, and like black, it looks like. Yeah. This part is still weird to me that this ever worked and looked right before. Because we definitely, I think, we're supposed to have old value there. So I don't know why that did look right in the past. Maybe it never did look right, but the second half of the animation saved it. I don't know. That one's weird to me. I guess, okay, you know what happened? You know what happened is this doesn't matter. Yeah, the truth is this, it doesn't matter, actually. That's why it didn't look bad. Because this is setting it, but then as soon as we get inside of here, this is changing it right away. That probably happens so fast, you don't even see the first one. Because this one was correct, because old value is what got passed to here. So it was setting it wrong, but it was resetting it so soon afterwards, there wasn't enough time to perceive it. Okay, that does make sense. Commit save for, oh yeah, PyCharm. I mean, one of the main reasons, one of the first reasons I ever started using PyCharm was because of all the Git workflow stuff inside of it. I've branched out and started using a lot more of the features of PyCharm, but like when I first started using PyCharm, it was a text editor with Git like wizard windows built in to me. Like that is all that I used was text editing, file browsing, and Git pushing. I didn't do anything fancier than that, but I used the Git stuff a lot because I was still learning Git altogether by using PyCharm. So like I didn't learn Git on the command line really. I've gotten better at it by now. I know lots of ways to use it in the command line, but when I first learned it, PyCharm was invaluable. All those windows. Yeah. Yeah, no, you can totally commit. You have to have like, the project that you have open has to be a repo. And then as long as that project you have open is a repo, it should find it automatically. But if it doesn't, you could go get, there will be a thing called like VCS init or something. If your project's not already a repo, that will be inside of here. And you can do that. And then once you do that, you'll have access to these top ones. Push, pull, commit, all that stuff. Fetch. Yeah, you can see all the branches and stuff as well. Like this repo only has one branch, so they're not all listed there, but in older, more complex repos, you'll see all the branches. You can also see all the history. You click Git window down here, you can see the history of all the commits. Same way you can see on GitHub. There's a lot of nifty stuff for Git built in PyCharm. So do we want to cut the animation frames down, or do we want to just use smaller stuff? I think we got to go smaller stuff. Because we would need at least half again as much space, and we first of all, we can't go down to 2.5 animation frames. And honestly, I think even 2 is not enough. 3, I think, will not be enough also. We could maybe get by with 4. 4 might look all right. Might not be too stuttery, I'm not sure. But even if we shrunk it down to 4 animation frames, that's only 20% savings roughly. So we're not going to have enough to fit the top and bottom one. We're going to have to go, if we want at least 4 frames, which I think we'll need, then we're going to have to go smaller tiles. What is the RAM like on this? Specs in this one. On the regular PyPortal. I don't know if they're all the same. Oh. $256K? That be the RAM? Okay, I guess that's probably RAM. 256K is going to be fairly little, especially because these sprite sheets right now are 120K. Well, the 10 ones are 120K. The smaller ones are 120K. So those together are 240, which is almost everything we have. My brain must have glossed over the entire Git menu. Didn't know it existed. 8 megs. Well, 8 megs I think is storage. Container has 8 megs. Yeah, storage. Like file space, but I think RAM less. Need a near future deep dive on how to use the tools in some software like PyCharm. Yeah. Yeah. Probably do that. I have a video about the setup that I did for PyCharm. I don't have a video so much about like day-to-day usage and stuff though. So let's stick with 5 frames. I guess let's stick with 8 padding, but let's go. Current height and width are 48 by 100. So let's try cutting that in half. Font size would have to be a lot smaller. We were using 44. Correct number of animation frames. Feels like every other column is missing. I really feel like every other column is missing anymore. Um, Probably something else. is not, probably something else is hard-coded to the width. Oh. We should probably not call this one width. But the problem is that we didn't pass it in. Oh, I have that already. Transparency color we need. Okay. Got room to go bigger font. Got room to go. You kind of like the padding because the larger the padding, the more that poking out angle effect that I was talking about earlier, the more that accentuated, which really helps the trick of the eye basically to make it look like it's falling. One for VS Code. Question: how do I get my PyPortal first run CodePy unloaded, free up memory, and then run another and a third in a sequence of CodePys? There's a thing on Supervisor that lets you do that on next reboot or something. Next code file, supervisor.set next code file, and you tell it the next file to run, and then you can call reload to make it load to run that new file. So you can have one script like start the next one, you can have that second one start the next one, so on and so forth. I'd really prefer to use PyCharm. It's easier to learn from a guy. Love the PyCharm suggestions for code improvements, especially F strings, comparators. I think you can tune all of that stuff too. I'm not familiar with VS Code much. I've been thinking about trying to start using VS Code a little bit for JavaScript. If I do though. A project for FlipFlop. I could copy the repo menu through git pull. Bad messages. Yep, 6 files. Yeah, it'll tell you how many files. There will be a somewhere you could find the commits, the actual commits, and see what the changes were too. Reload it into another code, but that resets everything you set up before. Can't really Well, I think the reset would of what's you did supervisor reload. Will that clear out memory? Or I guess you're saying that it will clear it out and you can't keep using it after the fact. I do agree with that part of it. Afterwards, all your variables and stuff will be gone by the time your second CodePy starts. I will say too, I haven't used that on a next code file thing too much. I know of its existence, but I have not actually used it that much. That's a good point as well. Yeah, whatever you have plugged in, like it would be resetting the state of all those probably. We went bigger padding. I think we can go back up the font size a bit. Maybe 20 is looking like. Okay. So that's 41K. Is much smaller. That's a third of the size of the old one. That's down to under 40K. Somebody asked about the palette earlier, about comparing to red or blue or something like that. Was that C. Grover maybe? I don't think I ever answered or said anything about that. I don't know if we can relate it to red and blue because they can also choose the transparency color. So I've chosen to use green. Green is what the default is, but they could use pink, or really you could use any color for transparency. In which case, really what we would need is we need a Python function that compares two colors and gives you back a number that represents how similar they are to each other, if that's a thing that exists. And then we could say find all the colors that are above a certain threshold of similar enough to the transparent color that the user set, and then put all those ones together at the top. That way it's not actually based on red, green, blue, anything specific, but it's on whatever the transparent color is plus that threshold of close enough to it. Or the other, ideally we would try to get it to where we don't have multiple shades of this. I mean, honestly, that would be the actual real best thing, is if there was only one shade of green. I believe the reason why there are multiples is something to do with the way that I have pasted them together, and the fact that PIL does support transparency by default. Maybe we could turn off the transparency or something. PIL. That way it would hard cut the edges. What? In both files. Palette reduction techniques. Spectral similarity. Sounds like what it would do. Since within color space. Let's say I want to run several CodePys because I can't load all of the module to memory constraints. Yeah, it depends what they do quite a bit. Spectral similarity. Any aliasing. Okay, maybe that's what we need to disable. Any aliasing for the edges. I found it's like on the edges it gets different shades of those colors. So if we could turn that off and make it just hard cut from the gray pixel to the green pixel, then we would only end up with one shade of green, hopefully. Probably this is crashing because of the name of the files, yeah. Oh, I need to copy the static also. I'm surprised static has green already at the... Must be already on 0. Is that not the name of the file? Oh, it doesn't have small in it. Yeah, it'll limit the number of palette colors while processing the image. Good question. And I do not know. I would guess yes. I'm pretty sure the thing where we're doing, like, we're telling it web is telling it to use a palette of a certain size, 255 things, maybe? 256, 0 to 255. I think there's probably other built-in palettes we could try to limit it to, but I'm not sure. 54. So we made it a little bit further, but we still did not manage to load the other one. Oh. Okay, this time we made it even further. Okay. I think adding GC collect allowed it to actually load. But our next problem is something to do with the size probably is wrong. Sprite width, sprite height. Oh. 40 by 50. Static. We didn't replace static. There we go. All right, it's very tiny, but it loaded. It's on the screen. It's animating. It looks pretty good. Screen is dirty as all get out, but gotta ignore that part. Now it's gonna be smeared. But one thing we could do though now is now it's super small, but it's actually just a group also, so we could go flip digit dot scale 2 and it will be twice as big. That part out. So it gets fuzzier. The number especially is what gets fuzzier. The outside doesn't get that much fuzzier. Um, but we can make it bigger. It does slow down at larger scales, which is interesting. I mean, it's more pixels, so I guess it makes sense. Also not centered. Odd. Thing's not setting the height and width right, probably. Actually, maybe just anchor positioning doesn't work with scale. I think that's actually the case, is just anchor positioning doesn't work with scale. You would have to account for the scale. Realistically, I think if you did times the scale right here, then it goes to the center? No, then it goes off the screen. On forever. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. You have to bring it back some to get it to the center. But there we go. We got one onto the PyPortal. It's very small by default. You can scale it up. It gets fuzzier, but that is what the RAM on that device allows for. Probably rename some of these at some point, but check this one in, put the license for it, and then I think I'm gonna be taking off here pretty quick after that. I guess I did actually. I think I changed flip digit to called gc.clear. Oh, that wasn't in here. Oh, well, it was in CodePy actually. Yeah, it's in CodePy. Do what? I'll take the one that's on my PyPortal here, and I'll put that as another sample one here. Try to at least. Just smaller PyPortal. Yeah, memory does get tough for sure. You try to break it down into smaller problems that run sequentially. I kind of see where your head's at, but it does not always, like, those things are not always possible to be if you can make the storage writable, if you're okay with making the storage writable to CircuitPython, you could write files. So like you could run one script, write a file that contains JSON that holds whatever state you need for the next script, and then start the next one and read it from the file. That gives you a way to like kind of sort of share between scripts by reading and writing JSON to the hard drive, the flash memory that acts as a hard drive. Um, but it totally depends what you're doing. Like sometimes you can't serialize what you're passing over, right? Like a bitmap object cannot be written into JSON really. So um, if you have strings and ints and floats that you need to persist, something like that, bridge maybe. Or some other like a digital IO pin or something like that, it's not going to be able to serialize. Yeah, Feather S2 has been pretty good. The Feather TFT has been my go-to for a little bit now because it's got a screen that's big enough to do most everything that I want, and it's got a lot of RAM and it's really fast. Not that expensive compared to all the other Feathers, so I definitely been that's been my go-to tester lately. SD card runs on SPI, so there's speed limits. Oh yeah, you could use the SD card actually. Yeah, then you wouldn't need the writable mounting, which would actually make it better. But it does write slower, I assume. But you could also write a massive file too. Well, it can be that big, I guess, because it had to be in RAM at one point. So anyway, I got the latest version of this is updated. It should have the one now that can run on the PyPortal, or I'm testing on the PyPortal Titano specifically. I don't know. I assume the RAM is the same on the other, but I don't actually know for certain. But that one is PlayIO flip digit, smaller PyPortal, and then there's now top animation sheet small 5 frames, bottom animation sheet small, this one 5 frames. Those should be working on the PyPortal. It is probably still pretty close to the limit though, I would guess, because inside of this script, it did still crash until I added another GC collect in between these and before this one. So it was still crashing without these. So my guess is there's not a lot of RAM left over. So if you're trying to use the flip digit or the flip clock and something else, there may not be enough left. You may still have to shrink the sprites even further. But the good news is the generator script is set up now, and you saw how I generated the smaller ones. You can go back and reference the VOD too, so anybody should be able to make them at any size they need. I do still have a couple of other things I want to try to make it do, which are like maybe fancier looking tiles, like with gradients on them, instead of a solid color fill. Maybe curved corners, although I'm hesitant on the curved corners, the rounded corners, because then they won't poke out as far, and we'll lose a bit of that effect, that perspective trick. So I'll probably try curved corners, but I don't know if I'll keep it. It depends how it looks. I would like to try gradients. I think that would be cool. But that's really about all I have in mind for it, is gradients and maybe curved corners. Maybe add the crossbar in the middle. Ours still doesn't have the crossbar in the middle, which, like lots of flip clocks, they'll draw a line through the center point. So I think we'll probably make that an option at some point. But that's about the majority of what I intend to kind of get in before I try to PR it for the bundle. So yeah, feel free to try it out on other devices if you want. The smaller one here should work on the Pi portal. Feel free to generate your own tiles if you want. You can try different colors and stuff. I can't say as though I've tested the different colors yet, so that's another thing we'll need to do at some point is, you should be able to pass in colors here, like text color. But it would have to be a... I don't even know, actually. Would it be a hex string? I don't even know what it would be. Because we have tuples in there. I don't know how you would pass a tuple to this. So, yeah, I don't know how to change the color. I guess maybe just like this, but... Got it, right? Unexpected token. Yeah. Let's figure out how to pass in tuples for colors, I think. Or maybe we could convert them from hex or something. Gradient background squishing with coefficient animation probably won't look smooth, just a guess. Yeah, we'll see. Give it a try. Well, it's going to be gradients on the full sprite, so the static ones will have it as well, not just the animation. RAM capacity is same on all Pi portals, but oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's the same amount of RAM, but the Titano needs more of it for the display because it has more pixels. That's a really good point. So it effectively has less RAM to play with, even though it actually does have the same amount. Gotcha. All right, well, I'm going to head out for now. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope everybody has a good day and a nice weekend and all of that. This stuff is everything I worked on today is all pushed, so if you're interested, you can grab it from GitHub. And, yeah, I don't know exactly when I'll be back. Probably sometime on Monday I'll stream. I'm not 100% sure when, but probably sometime Monday. And maybe before then. I don't know. If you want the notification, you can follow me on Twitch. That's a good way to know when I start streaming. That way you can get notified if you want to watch. Yeah, thank you to Adafruit for sponsoring CircuitPython, for paying us, those of us that work on it. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to everybody in the chat for interacting, asking questions, having conversations related to CircuitPython. Appreciate all of you. And I will catch you all next time. See ya.